Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's English file lesson. My name is Karabo Site. This lesson is brought to you by Gauteng Education Department in collaboration with the Saibono Discovery Center. Grade 12 learners, today we are going to do literature, which is English file paper 2, and our focus is My Children, My Africa. Let us check the lesson overview. When we do literature, what is it that we focus on? The story. When you study drama, you also study the elements that you are familiar with in a novel, which are the setting. You are studying the setting, you are studying the character, and you are studying the plot, as well as the theme. Interestingly enough, My Children, My Africa is a play. Then there is an added layer when you do study a play. You study your setting, your character, your plot, theme, and you also study the stage set. You study the stage props. You study the stage directions, the lighting, and the costumes. That is different from when you study just a story, a short story, or a novel. With a play is a drama, which is supposed to be played or staged. So that's the reason we're talking about the stage set, stage prop, stage direction, lighting, as well as costume. I want you to look at the following questions. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to check these questions. And I want you to write them down on paper and answer them. Let's see. Who is the playwright? What is his background? The playwright of My Children, My Africa. And what is his background? What is the title of the book that we are studying? And how does it relate to the play? How is this play structured? That is in acts and scenes. What is the setting? Where and when does it take place? Lastly, in this section, I want you to write down or to answer the following question. What background knowledge do you need in understanding the setting? I'm going to repeat myself. I want you to take about 3 minutes for you to check the following. Who is the playwright? What is his background? What is the title of the play? How does it relate to this play? How is the play structured? That is acts and scenes. What is the setting of the play? And where and when does it take place? I also want you to write down the background knowledge that you need to understand the setting. Let's count down 3 minutes. That's all that I give you. Welcome back, learners. I'm sure you got all the answers correctly. Now let's look at the first question that I asked. Who is the playwright and what is his background? Playwright? Tom, did you get it right? Playwright is someone who writes drama. We call them a playwright. Then somebody who writes novels and short stories, we call them authors, right? So there's the difference between playwright and author. And then somebody who pens or who writes poetry, we will call that person a poet, right? Who is this playwright? The person who wrote this drama, My Children, My Africa, is Ethel Fugard. You got it right? Yes. He was born where? In Middelburg in South Africa. Ethel Fugard is known for his political plays. The plays opposing the system of apartheid. I'm sure you're familiar with the words. Political, apartheid, and then apartheid is a system of segregation or discrimination on the grounds of race. Political is it is set in a political arena to examine questions and themes based on humanity. Ethel Fugard, the playwright, won an Oscar for his film in 2005, and that film was called Tsotsi, and it was directed by Gavin Hood. You remember Chwenya High, isn't it? Cobra, who featured in Tsotsi. So there's that one. It was written by who? By Ethel Fugard. Ethel Fugard is not only known in South Africa, but he is known worldwide. He is internationally well known. So it means he is known in South Africa and he is known in the whole world. And he is known for his penetrating, pessimistic analysis of South African society during the apartheid era. He did not have hope. The bleak, pessimistic. When a person is pessimistic, the person is hopeless, bleak. They believe that the worst is going to happen. And the opposite of pessimistic is I want you to try and find that word, pessimistic, and then the opposite of pessimistic, when you are hopeful. His prolific history, in which he also acted in and directed many of his works, includes about 30 plays. Many are film adaptations, and he won a special Tony Award for lifetime achievement in the theater. We are reading a very huge person in our history of South Africa. Background knowledge of this play. What background knowledge do you need to understand the setting? The background of this play is what? Is during the apartheid era. You need to understand the apartheid system in South Africa, which spoke or which emphasized racial segregation and discrimination during the 1948 up until 1994. This context helps explain the characters' struggles and motivations. If you know what happened between 1948 and 1994, where there was a lot of unhappiness in South Africa due to the apartheid system, then you will understand what the characters in this book, My Children, My Africa, are going through. The background knowledge that you need to understand this play is the education system during that time. Prior to 1994, we had a system of education called the Bantu Education Act, and it impacted on Black South Africans' education. And if you know that, then you will know why there was this conflict between the two people, between Tammy and Mr. M. They held different political views or educational views. Now, let's look at the title, My Children, My Africa. What does it mean? The title reflects Mr. M's deep concern and love for his students and his country. He loved three things: his students, he loved education, and he also loved his country. So that's the basis of the background of Mr. M. So we have the exclamation marks there indicate a sense of agency and passion. My children, my Africa. Can you see the exclamations there between children and Africa? So that emphasizes the agency and the passion. There's something that's needed or that's supposed to happen. And this title can also be seen as a lament for the wasted potential of the youth due to apartheid. How does it relate to the play? This title, My Children, My Africa? The title highlights the main themes of education, isn't it? The youth, and also the South Africa's future. Mr. M sees his students as the hope for a better future for Africa, or for South Africa. So that's the basis. The title, My Children, My Africa, is grounded in the text, in the agency of seeing things change in the world of Mr. M. And this is what Athol Fugard said with his words. He said, every African soul is either carrying a bundle or is in it. You either are carrying a bundle, to carry something on the head or in your heart. You have a burden. Or if you are not carrying a bundle, then you are yourself are a problem. It's either you have a problem or you are carrying a problem. What is wrong with this world? that it wants to waste you like that. My children, my Africa. So that's what Mr. M says. Every African soul is either carrying a bundle or in it, what is wrong with this world that it wants to waste you like that? My children, my Africa. Okay. And that is written by who? By Ethel Fugard. The structure of the play. The question that I asked you, I hope you also got this right. It is made up of what? Of acts and scenes. The structure is divided into 2 acts. We have 2 acts. Each contains multiple scenes that progresses the storyline and develops the character. And then what is the setting? The setting is where and when does this story take place? Where? The setting. The play is set in a small town in South Africa, primarily in a school or classroom at Zolile High School. And when? The time now, the time frame. It took place, or the events take place during the final years of apartheid around the 1980s. Later on, boys and girls, we will show you that it is this time we are talking about the time frame of when the story is taking place, but we will zoom in on the other settings that are prescribed for us. The other setting is Zolile High School, like I mentioned below. So it is the primary setting where Mr. M teaches and where many key things, including the debate and the classroom interactions, take place. The other setting place is Kamdebu High School. I hope you remember Kamdebu High School. Yes, that is where I stabilizing studies. I hope you got it right. Yes. It represents the more privileged white educational environment. Braakwater. Interesting enough, Braakwater is a fictional township. It's a fictional township that represents the harsh living conditions under apartheid, and that's where Tammy and Mr. M resides. That's where Zolile High School is based. It is based on the real township of Graaf Reinet called Kamdebu in the play. Okay. We have another important setting in the story, which is called what? Wapadsberg Pass. And it is a significant location in the sense that it symbolizes the journey the characters go through and also the themes of the story. You got it right? I hope so. Wapadsberg Pass. Anyone who got it right? Of course, Tebogo. It is Mr. M's inspiration. He says, when I first wanted to become a teacher, it was while he was gazing out of what? Over the Karoo Desert from Wapadsberg Pass. So it has a significant idea or bearing on Mr. M. This moment inspired him to pursue knowledge and education, and he decided he wants to be a teacher. Symbolism. Wapadsberg also has a symbolism in the sense that it represents Africa's potential and the protagonist's commitment to fighting for a better future. It also symbolizes the power of knowledge and the promise of post-apartheid democratic South Africa. That's where Isabel made a promise that at the end of the play, he goes to Wapadsberg and there she pays her last respects to Mr. M and makes a promise to dedicate her life helping others and carrying forward Mr. M's sense of hope and commitment to education. We all know that Mr. M was committed to education. Now, I'm going to give you the next set of questions again for 3 minutes. Let's look at the questions and then I want you to answer them. Who are the characters of this play? What are their personalities and relationships? What is the plot? What is the storyline? And what are the main events of the story? Also, I want you to comment on the climax of the story. What are the themes? And what is the play all about? I want you to answer that on a piece of paper. What kind of conflict is revealed in the play? How do I respond to the play? That is now you. How do you respond to this play? I'm sure you have, this is the 5th week of school, and if you've started with My Children, My Africa, you surely have emotions about it. How does it make you feel? That's what I want to know this afternoon. Get down to business, 3 minutes, write this, try and answer these questions fast. And the first thoughts, put them on paper. Your first thoughts, you must put them on paper without thinking too much. The characters, personalities, their relationship, the plot, storyline, main events, the climax, themes, play actually about conflict, respond, and it makes me feel how it makes you feel. You have 3 minutes. Welcome back, learners. I hope you enjoyed answering the questions. Let's see. Who are the characters? What are their personalities and their relationships? And do you see what I'm getting to? We want you to get direct contact, and you must engage with my children, my Africa, as much as you will enjoy the storyline, but you also need to understand and to learn these nitty-gritties of the play. At the end of the year, or during your June exam, or your 2-week cycle test, these are the things that we expect you to know and to respond to. We want you to get inside the mind of the character. And that means to deeply understand their thoughts. You must know Tani, what he thinks, what he feels, what is motivating him, and his outlook, his perspective. Same as Mr. M and Isabel. We essentially want you to experience the world through their eyes by exploring what? Their backstory, their fears, their desires, and internal conflicts. Isn't it interesting? You have to dig. You are a scientist now. You have the material in front of you. And now you have to know Tami. You are going to dissect Tami, know his thoughts, his feelings, and his backstory. What is his fears, his desires, and the internal conflicts. This will allow you to grasp the decision-making process and reactions to situations fully. This is what we do when we study literature. Okay? And who are these characters? And what are their personalities? Let's look. We have Mr. Anela Mialata, who we all know as Mr. M. How do we know Mr. M? We know him as a dedicated and idealistic black teacher. Idealistic meaning he looks at things in an ideal world. Much as he loves his students, sometimes his thoughts are far from reality, from what is happening in everyday life. He believes in the power of education. That's interesting, and that's very good. That he believes in the power of education. I believe in the power of education, and your teacher believes in the power of education, and you also believe in the power of education. We have a student by the name of Tami. Tami is charismatic, he is bright, a bright person, is intelligent, and he becomes involved in the anti-apartheid movement. The third main character in the story is Isabel Dyson, who is a white student from a privileged background who becomes friends with Tami. They become friends. And our Isabel, for the first time, gets to grips with what? The realities of apartheid. You got it right? Yes. She did not know anything about apartheid until she became close with Tami and Mr. M. What are the 3 strategies? That's what we ask you. Used to help you identify the character traits of a character. And from there, I'm sure you have listed 4 traits. Let's look at the 4 traits of the main characters in My Children, My Africa. Okay? What are those 4 traits? And then I want you to further look at the 4 negative character traits of the main characters in My Children, My Africa. In other words, of Mr. M, of Isabel, as well as who? Tammy. I want you to look at 4 positive characters and 4 negative characters of each of these people. And then, furthermore, we want to check why. You must give an example of why Tammy is obedient. He's an obedient boy, isn't it? And that's his character. He's an obedient boy. And what character trait describes Mr. M well? I know you know it. He's the best educator, isn't it? What character trait does Tammy display when he keeps his involvement in the resistance movement a secret from Mr. M and Isabel? Let's look. We check, how do we know the characters, our characters? We will know our characters because of the dialogue, what they say. Mr. M's formal and authoritative speech reflects his dedication and passion to education. That's an example. When we ask you a question, we want you to do what? To go back to the story. Your answers must be grounded in the text. Right. We also know our characters due to what? Actions, what they do. And that shows their personality. Tammy's decision to join the resistance movement highlights what? His rebellious and courageous nature. He's a very courageous person. He's also very rebellious. Interactions, how they interact with one another. The characters interact with others can highlight their traits, what they are. Isabel's interaction with Mr. Tammy and Mr. M, with Tammy and Mr. M, shows that she is open-minded and she also has empathy. She takes time to learn about the different role or area that is presented to her, that is that place of Wapadsberg. Let's look at the 4 character traits of the main characters. Mr. M, we know him as a dedicated person, isn't it? Passionate. Do you have it on your paper? He's also wise, and he's also hopeful. Example of that. How do we know that Mr. M is dedicated and passionate and wise as well as hopeful? Mr. M's dedication is evident when he organizes the debate as well as what? As the literature quiz or literature competition. And that bridges the gap. Not just the gap, the racial gap between Tammy and Isabel. And for that promotes what? It promotes education. Interesting, isn't it? Right. Tammy. We say Tammy is, did you say bright? Yes, he is intelligent. He's also charismatic. He's courageous as well as loyal. Loyal to who? Let's take this loyal. When he protected Mr. M, when he went to Mr. M and warned Mr. M that the activists are coming to him, he must leave the class. He must not ring the bell. That shows what? That shows that Tammy is loyal to Mr. M. So we have grounded that idea where? In the text. Isabel is open-minded, empathetic, determined, and curious. How do we know that? Can you think of an example in the book? Yes. She's open-minded. She befriends Tammy. And she's prepared to learn more about what Tammy is all about. She's prepared to learn more about what Zolile High is all about. And that shows a determination that she is a very open-minded person. Do you see what I have done here? When we ask you to give us a character trait, we also want you to give an example from the text that shows that character trait. So those are the positives that we have spoken about. Let's check the negative character traits of these main characters. Let's go. You've written them down? Mr. M, of course, Sean, Mr. M is stubborn. He is idealistic to the fault. He is also very rigid and sometimes naive. How is he stubborn? I want you to go back to your books. I want you to go back to the drama and check incidences or examples where it shows that Mr. M is stubborn, where it shows that Mr. M is idealistic, rigid, or sometimes naive. When Tammy tells him, this is how we need education, we need freedom now, Mr. M is insistent that things are going to be done his way. Remember when he had an interaction with Isabel, where he said, when I say do this, when I say do this, and then what happens? Tammy does it without question. That's being naive, isn't it? He does not think that Tammy is a human being who is dynamic, who can think. But he wants to be obeyed just like that. Right? How about Tammy? Tammy is impulsive, and that's a negative. Conflicted. He's also rebellious and sometimes secretive. We know that he is secretive in the book when he doesn't tell what he is up to. We also know that he is impulsive. He decides to join the school boycott without fully considering the consequences. What about the beautiful lady Isabel? She is naive, privileged, occasionally insensitive, and inexperienced, and that's a negative on her side. Isabel's naivety is highlighted when she initially fails to grasp the full extent of the struggles faced by Black South Africans under apartheid. She knew that she would visit auntie. Then she will stand there at the gate, and that's all that she knew about Black people. Not more than that. Right? What is the plot? What is the storyline? What are the main events? What is the climax that you have answered? Let's see. The play follows the interactions between who? Mr. M, Tammy, and Isabel as they navigate the challenges of apartheid. Mr. M organizes what? A debate as well as a literature quiz. And then the main events. We have the great debate between Tammy and Isabel that you find where? In Act 1, Scene 1. That's the main event. Then the other event when Tammy's growing involvement in the resistance movement. The conflict between Mr. M and Tammy over the differing views on how to fight apartheid. We know Mr. M thinks we can debate issues. Tammy feels that we need action. Words are going to waste time. So that is the conflict between them. What about the climax? The climax occurs when Tammy decides to join the school boycott, and that leads to what? To the confrontation, tragic confrontation with Mr. M. That tragic confrontation with Mr. M leads what? Leads to the death of Mr. M. Okay. We have the themes. What are the themes that we're going to learn about in My Children, My Africa? I'm sure you have noted a few themes. In our next lesson, I will explain what a theme is, and I'm sure your teachers have explained what themes are. The message of the story. Apartheid and racial segregation. The play explores the impact of apartheid on individuals as well as society. Education is portrayed as a powerful tool for change and empowerment. Friendship and conflict. The evolving friendship between Tammy and Isabel and the conflicts that arise from their different backgrounds. And then we also have the theme called generational differences. So, a few themes that you will have to sit down and study, and as you study the book, as you read, check. Do you see apartheid and racial segregation there? Do you see education? Do you see friendship and conflict? Do you see general differences? And then you must compile those as you read and as you go along. The conflict between these main characters in the book, we have internal conflict. Internal conflict, it is the conflict that is happening in Tammy's mind. His loyalty to Mr. M and his desire to fight against apartheid. He could easily make a choice and say, I want to fight for apartheid, or I want to stay loyal to Mr. M. But now he was in a quandary. He wanted to make a choice, and that was a difficult choice. Also, his choice to remain loyal to Mr. M would mean that he does what? He would betray his comrades. External conflict is the ideological clash between Mr. M's belief in non-violence, right, and the resistance and Tammy's support for militant action that I have explained earlier. Your thoughts now. We don't just want you to comb through the book and read it just blindly. We want you to be involved. We want to know what you think. What do you think? You, as the reader of this play, you are very important. How do you respond to the play? And how does it make you feel? We are interested in that. And that will culminate in questions which we always term open-ended questions. But at this stage of your study, it is where you are reading or you are studying, and we want you to do what? To formulate your emotions. We want to know where you are. We don't want to leave you out. We want to know how you respond to this play, and we want to know how it makes you feel. We are looking at the emotional impact of this drama is putting on you. Do you feel pity for the characters? Do you understand why they are angry? Do you understand the injustices of apartheid? Do you have hope for a better future? So that's the emotional impact on you as a reader or a student of literature. We do not want you to study literature in isolation and not involve you as a person. We want to also know the personal reflection. It encourages you what? To reflect. We want you to think of situations or of the importance of education and the power of the youth. You are a youth, isn't it? And you've got power within you. You are a powerful human being. Did you know that? And we want you to know that where are you in our society? There's a need for social justice. And there's a need for equality. You'd probably take a stand when somebody is bullied at school, isn't it? That's the reason, that's the main reason we study literature, because we want to be touched on an emotional way. And we want to have a way of reflection. We are not robots, isn't it? We are thinking. And we are dynamic human beings. At some point, you'd cry, isn't it? When you read the story, you get into the shoes of the characters and you feel for them. You are emotional. Is this story thought-provoking enough? Do you have mixed emotions? And what are your emotions? We want to know how you feel. How you feel, your feelings. Do you feel sad? Do you feel angry? Do you feel hopeful? So this is the response that we want from you. Are you sad? Are you angry? Are you hopeful? However, any way you feel, something very important and key is that all your emotions, whatever you think, your critical thinking, your emotional impact, your reflection should be grounded in the text. Remember, we are not studying just generally so, but whatever thought we have should be grounded in the text. Which text am I referring to? The text is my children, my Africa. It's not my children, my Africa. It's my children, my Africa. Right. We want you to check what is that heartfelt or that touching moment in the play that you experienced. Is it that time that Mr. M passionately defends the power of education to change society? Is that Mr. M's dedication to his students and his belief that there is transformative power when you teach learners, when you acquire knowledge. And that should be inspiring as well as heartbreaking, especially considering the oppressive environment which he works. Remember when he rang the bell, and then he was looking all over the place, and he was checking this side and this side, looking at the class, and the class was empty, where he expected his children to be in the class, and that was heartbreaking for him. And how did it make you feel? Look at the beginning of the play, when he said, order, order. When he highlighted the importance of words and ideas, that highlights his unwavering commitment to education. When he called Isabel and Tammy to order, when he said, words are the most powerful weapon we have, they can change the world. That's Mr. M. So it is grounded where? In the text. Words are the most powerful weapons we have. They can change the world. If I meet you at the mall, I'm going to ask you, what are the most powerful words that Mr. M said? Your answer would be, words are the most powerful weapons we have that can change the world. So that has an emotional or a deep emotional impact, and it touches you. Another powerful scene is the confrontation between Tammy and Mr. M, when Mr. M expresses his frustration and anger at the systemic injustices they face. Tammy's decision to join the student protest and his subsequent conflict with Mr. M illustrates the generational divide and the different approaches in Tammy's wit, when he said, I cannot sit in a classroom and pretend everything is normal when it is not. It is emotional, isn't it, boys and girls? When I meet you in the mall, I want to, or when I come to your school, or meet you in the streets, or even at church, I want you to give me Tammy's words. I cannot sit in a classroom and pretend everything is normal when it is not. What makes you feel when you hear him saying that? This scene, to me, it makes me feel a sense of empathy for Tammy's struggle and the difficult choices he has made. It was not just easy. Then he says, I cannot, I must do something. I cannot sit in this class and pretend that everything is normal when it is not. Personal reflection, we must reflect, like I said. Importance of education, the power of the youth, social justice and equality. Right. The play will want to look at the importance of education, the power of words, peace, radical approach, and achieving justice. Now, let's read extract number 1 in the book. Order, please. I never said anything of the kind. Yes, you did. You said that women were more. I call you both to order. That's Mr. M. Isabel says, what I said was that women were more emotional than men. Correction, Tammy, that women were more intuitive than men. Miss Dyson and Mr. Mbikwana, Will you both please? That's Mr. M. You are twisting my words and misquoting me. I'm not. I'm simply asking you. Mr. M now says, come to order. He grabs the school bell and rings it violently. It works. And there is silence. I want you, a few of you in class tomorrow, you read it passionately with your friend. The other person should be Tammy. The other one should be Mr. M. And the other one should be Isabel. Then Mr. M continues. I think it is necessary for me to remind all of you exactly what a debate is supposed to be. He opens and reads from a little black dictionary that is at hand on the table. My dictionary defines it as follows. The orderly and regulated discussion of an issue with opposing viewpoints receiving equal time and consideration. Shouting down the opposition so that they cannot be heard does not comply with that definition. Enthusiasm for your cause is most commendable. But without personal discipline, it is as useless as having a good donkey and a good cart, but no harness. We are now running out of time. I'm therefore closing the open section of our debate. No more interruptions from the floor, please. Let's continue with the debate. And that you'll find where? In Act 1, Scene 1. The play opens in a Bantu classroom in South Africa in 1984. Mr. Myaleja Anela, Mr. M, is a teacher at Zolilo High School and is moderating a debate between his star student. Tammy is referred to as a star student, Tammy Mbikwan, and Isabel Dyson, who comes from an affluent white girls' school. No. Affluent is rich. Despite Tammy's passionate closing remarks and his popularity among his classmates, Isabel wins the debate. After the rest of the class leaves, Isabel and Tammy talk, and despite their different backgrounds, a friendship is born. And what is Bragvater? We can ask you the literal meaning of Bragvater as well as the figurative meaning of Bragvater. Bragvater is an Afrikaans word which means brackish water. That is the water with high salt content and hence the bad taste. The location, this is figuratively, it's a township for black people. Not even called township, but it's called what? Location. And where is it situated? It is situated in the Eastern Cape. And the place is a terrible mess. And Isabel refers it to an eyesore, and it is not conducive for human dwelling. Okay. So, that you will find in Act 1, Scene 2 on page 51. What does it symbolize? It symbolizes poverty and suffering. While on the other hand, we have Kamdebu. which is a reference to something that is green, that is hollow, and is coming from a koi wood, and it symbolizes space in the environment. Beautiful, green, it's nurturing, it gives home, it gives hope. And Isabel refers to it as our town is very pretty. That you can see in Act 1, Scene 2 on page 51 of your book. The town symbolizes a good life, contentment, and beauty. Another symbol that we're going to study is the bell, the ringing of the bell. The positive ringing of the bell is that it brings about what? Order. And then the negative is the end, symbolizes death, which is very key. At the end, Mr. M rings the bell, and soon after, he dies. Another symbol that you're going to study is the dictionary. The dictionary would mean what? It's a symbol of education, learning, the power of language and ideas. Whilst on the other hand, the dictionary is the power of the word that we can achieve as a collective. So we have a classroom, we have chalk, we have blackboard, and that's equals to what? It equals to education. What does a debate symbolize? It symbolizes discussion, negotiation, and orderly way of doing things. On the other hand, we have our timing, and the activists want to do what? Violent protest. They throw stones, and there's destruction. I want us to look at the following ways of answering questions. When you start studying this book, the main feature is you need to know the characters. Our focus today is characters. Mr. M, Mr. Tammy, Isabel. So you will get such a question where you are required to choose a description from column B that matches a name in column A, and you write only the letter A to the question, and you number it accordingly. That is number 4. Question 4, my children, my Africa, and you answer that in your book. I'm going to give you just 1 minute exactly. I'll tell you when your 1 minute starts. You are going to look at column B, column A and column B. Mr. M, Tammy Mbikwana, Isabel Dyson, the comrades. The description in B, naive white student from Kandebu High. Brilliant black student and musician. Brilliant black student and activist. Dedicated black school teacher. Group organizing the community against apartheid. I want you to match the description from column B with the name in column A. Just 1 minute. Good. Welcome back. Do you know who they are? Example, let's look at Mr. Anela Mialata. Do you know who he is? Description: he is the dedicated and idealistic black school teacher at Zolile High. When you recognize the word or the name Mr. M, it helps you quickly to identify him in the questions and understand his role in the story. That's how we do. That's the reason why we need to know every single character in the book. Know all the characters, not just one, all of them. Protagonists as well as antagonists. Tamim Bikwane, Mr. M, Isabel Dyson, those are our protagonists. Antagonist that is against us all is what? The apartheid system as well as the societal norms. If you know that, you understand the main characters and their roles, helps learners grasp the central conflict and themes of the play. For instance, Tammy's struggle against apartheid and Mr. M's dedication to education. You must also know their occupations. What do they do? Example, Isabel Dyson. Who is she? She's a white student from where? From Kamdebu High. She participates in the inter-school debate. I want you to do the same with other characters. Who is Isabel Dyson's parents and what do they do? So you need to know their occupations and how they act, their actions, right? Right. If you know Isabel's role and actions, it will help you to connect her to specific events in the plot. If you know Tamim Bikwana's parents, where they come from, what they do, so those actions will help you identify them. And it will be easier to answer questions about the characters. You must know their occupations. You must also know how the characters are related. Tamim Bikwana and Mr. M, how are they related? See? Student and teacher. If you understand the relationship, it will help you see the dynamics between them and the conflict between them. If you know the relationship between Isabel and Auntie, then you will know that Auntie is Isabel's domestic help and how they are related. They have interactions in the morning during breakfast. You must also know how the characters are being treated by the others. For example, Mr. M, how he treats Tammy and how he treats Isabel. He treats them differently, isn't it? He is more compassionate or more lenient, more understanding to Isabel, yet with Tammy, he is more firm, strict, makes decisions for him. So I want you to know how characters are being treated by others, knowing how Mr. M is treated by others, and that will provide you the insight of the pressures he faced in the society. And you must also know how they are treating others. I explained to you how Mr. M treats Tammy. he treats him very firmly, strictly, whilst he treats Isabel differently. Now let's go to the answers. I'm sure you are waiting. You want to know how you made it. Learners know Mr. M is a dedicated black school teacher, so you will match it with a D, isn't it? You got D. Tammy is a brilliant student and activist, so you matched it with C. That's correct. And then Isabel is a naive white learner from Kamdebu High, so you matched it with A. That's good. So at the end, we eliminate, we have our D, C, A, E. Okay. So B is the odd one out, odd one out. So it doesn't match with any of that. We double check and then we get our answer. So we have 4 out of 4 in the bag. So I want us to be creative at this stage, right? Time for some fun. Tammy Mbikwa. I'm going to give you 3 minutes where you are going to create a social media profile or a Twitter account for Tammy, or Facebook account or Instagram account. Facebook or Instagram or just a social media profile. You must design a social media profile for Tammy. You can choose to do it for any of the characters. You must include a profile picture. You must have a bio, that is a short description of his background and interests, and then posts or status updates that reflect his thoughts on education and social justice. Also include friends or followers who are significant to him. Got it? Social media profile, either a Twitter account, Facebook, Instagram. You design a social media profile for Tammy. You include a profile picture. You describe his background and interest. You post his status updates, and you reflect his thoughts on education and social justice. And you also indicate his followers. So 3 minutes counting now. Welcome back. We are creative, isn't it? I can see Tammy's picture there. His bio there, his picture for freedom. We shall lay down our lives. The struggle continues. And who is this person? It's Tammy Mbikwana. Twitter handle @TammyActivist. Bio: an aspiring activist and student, passionate about education and social justice, advocate for equality and change. Location: South Africa. Followers: followed by @Mr. Miyalaja, @Isabel Dyson, @Sipo Fondini. Right? Did you get it like this? I wish to see yours. Posts, replies, highlights, articles, media, and likes. Let's see. The first post. Education is not just about books. It's about opening minds and creating opportunities. Education for all. #future leaders. Something grounded in the text. Probably Tammy would make another post and say, I cannot continue to sit down and pretend that things are fine even though they are not. That will be his second post. This one is his pinned post. Education is not just about books, it's about opening minds and creating opportunities. #education for all, #future leaders. And I said Twitter handle, I forgot that it's X. No? It's no longer Twitter. Creativity continued. Let's look. I'm going to give you a little bit of homework to do. Pretend that you are Mr. Mialat. Oh, I want you to create a character profile poster. Create a poster that represents Mr. M. And that poster must include a drawing or an image of him. That's 1, Mr. M. 2, you draw an image of him. 3, his key traits, his character traits, right? And characteristics, symbols, or objects that are important to him, like a dictionary or school bell. And you also include quotations that reflect his dedication to education and discipline. Or you can choose to create an outfit, a design, character's outfit design for Isabel. Maybe a dress. An outfit for Isabel that reflects her personality. It must show that this is Isabel's dress. And her role in the story. That dress, that outfit, not dress only, it can be sweatpants, it can be whatever outfit that takes your fancy. Explain why you chose certain colors, styles, and accessories that matches Isabel's personality, that match Isabel's personality. Think about her outfit that can represent her aspirations, her interests as well, and her character phrase. Good enough, isn't it? This you will show me in our next lesson. May I take this opportunity, boys and girls, to remind you that with drama, we need to visualize it. You need to visualize the stage and the setting. You must hear the tone of voice of each character. You must also try and imagine the character's emotions, the emotional impact. You must form a mental picture of the actor's moments on the stage. This time, the stage is what? It's your book. So you are creating those memories or those scenes in your mind, in the stage of your mind. We have come to the end of our lesson, and before I bid you goodbye, I want to say this to you. This is the 5th week of the academic year, and I want to remind you the importance of studying meticulously and staying focused on your end goal. We all know our end goal, isn't it? We want to ace matric. We want to ace our matric. The year may seem long now, but it will pass quickly. And the efforts you put in today will shape your future. Remember, every study session, every assignment, every lesson brings you one step closer to success. Stay disciplined, manage your time wisely, and don't hesitate to ask for help when you need it. Your hard work and dedication will pay off. Thank you for watching this lesson. See you next time, and goodbye.